Hello, Algebra 1. We're going to tackle our day 2 of word problems. So let's go ahead and flip to page 15. We're going to focus on this chart first. It's pretty much telling you, if you're given this scenario, what method should you use to solve it? So for the graphing method, if you want a visual display of the equations, or you kind of want to see what's happening, or you want to estimate it, you definitely want to do graphing. When it comes to substitution, that's when one equation is already solved for one of the variables. So that's when you have an x equals something, or y equals something. And then lastly, you have elimination, where the coefficients... Hold on, my pen freaked out again. Coefficients. Come on, pen. There we go. Of one of the variables are either the opposite or the same, and you can easily cancel them out. But we've got a couple examples here that we're going to kind of talk through. The first one is a fashion designer sells scarves. The material for the scarf costs $5.50, but the scarves sell for $12.50. Before she even started, she decides to spend $1,400 on advertising. So our goal is to figure out when she's going to break even. So the first thing we got to do, just like before, is find our variables. So our first one will be x, and that's going to be number of scarves sold. And then our second variable is going to be our y, and that's going to be the cost to break even. Be the cost to break even. So our goal is to write two equations for this model. So you've got an expense. Stop freaking out, pen. There we go. Got an expense, and then you've got an income. So how much she decides to spend is already given to us. So we know that the material costs $5.50. And she decides to advertise for $1,400. So if we know that her income is going to be a break-even point, that's going to be y equals. Well, for each scarf, that's going to be $5.50, and I'm just going to write 5.5. So 5.5x, because that's per scarf. And then on top of all of that, she pays $1,400 for advertising. So that's billboards, magazines, maybe commercials, who knows. And then her income is also given to us because we know that each scarf sells for $12.50. $200 for a scarf. Goodness gracious. All right. So we know that our cost to break even will be our y equals, and then our income is $12.50 per scarf. So that's 12.5x. Well, now we got to figure out how we're going to solve this. So the biggest thing I want you guys to see is that they are both y equals. So we know that these two expressions are equal to each other. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set them equal to each other. So we're going to have 12.5x equals 5.5x plus 1,400. Well, we know we have to move over this 5.5x first. So subtract 5.5x on both sides. So we have 7x equals 1,400. Well, how do you solve for x? You got to divide both sides by 7. So divide by 7, divide by 7, and that means x equals 200 scarves. So she has to sell 200 scarves to break even. Well, how much money does she have to put in to break even? Well, let's go ahead and plug that x value in to find that. So y equals 12.5 times 200. Well, multiply those together, you get y equals 2,500. So that's how much she has to spend in order to break even. So she's got to sell 200 scarves and spend about $2,000, $2,500 on those scarves to be able to start making a profit. So this is really helpful if you guys are thinking about starting a company, or, having that type of scenario of, I'm going to put in money to something that I love. Let's see when it's going to pay off. So for our next example, we've got the car rental company again. So I'm just going to write the same problems that we did yesterday. And if you struggle with how it's set up, just let us know. Remember that X was your days with car. And that Y was your cost, how much you spent. So your two things, you had your pay now, or pay up front, excuse me. And you had drive now. Well, our pay up was Y equals 8x plus 33. And our drive now was Y equals 11x plus 18. Those were our two things that we got from yesterday. So remember, these are both Y equals 2, so you can set these two things equal to each other. So that's 8x plus 33 equals 11x plus 18. Well, we gotta solve. We gotta get our x on one side and our number on the other side. So let's go ahead and move over this 8x. So minus 8x on both sides. So we have 33 equals 3x plus 18. Well, now we got to move over our 18. So minus 18 on both sides. So 3x equals 15. Divide by 3. X equals 5. So what this is saying is, if you have the car for 5 days, it doesn't matter which company you use, it's going to be the same price. So if we kind of make a chart over here, so we have days, and then we got price, you got 1, and you got 2. So let's do day 5. Well, day 5, those costs are going to be the same. But what happens if you have it for, less than 5 days or more than 5 days? We can figure that out. Let's kind of use this chart, see what happens. So if we have our, 4 days, well, let's plug in that 4 to both of those equations, and let's see what we get. So for pay now, our option 1, that's going to get us $65. And I'm just getting that by doing 8 times 4 plus 33. And then to find our second one, we would have 11 times 4 plus 18. And that gets us 62. So if you're doing it for less than 5 days, your drive now is going to be the better option. But what if you have it for more than 4 to 5 days? Say you have it for 6 days. Well, plug it back into each equation. So you have 8 times 6 plus 33, and 11 times 6 plus 18. Well, our first option is going to get you $81. And our second option is going to get you $84. So we know if you're doing it for 5 days, it doesn't matter how much, or it doesn't matter which company you pick, we know it's going to be the same, and that's just at $73. Which I already had that calculated. But if it's $4, you should probably pick the second option. But if it's 6 days, you should pick the first option. So this chart is really going to help us out, and you will use this at some point to see what the better deal is. And then we've got, I think, one more example that I want to talk about, and that is the carpenter. So the carpenter makes and sells rocking chairs. The material costs $22.50, and the chairs sell for $75 each. So the carpenter puts $420 into advertising. So how much is he going to need to sell to break even? So remember, we got to do our variables. We got X, we've got Y. Our X is going to be rocking chairs sold. That's your rocking chairs sold. And Y is your amount to break even, or your cost. So to write those two systems, remember you have your expense, and you have your income. So he spends, let's see, going back to the problem. the material for each chair cost $22, and he did $420 on advertising. So that's y equals 22.5x plus 420. And then he sells each of them for $75 each. So that's y equals 75x. Well, let's go ahead and solve it. Remember, they're both equal to each other. So we've got 75. Got the highlighter. There we go. 75x equals 22.5x plus 420. Well, we got to move over this. So subtract 22.5x on both sides. So 75 minus 22.5 gets you 52.5x, which equals 420. Well, when you divide by 52.5 on both sides, you have x equals 8. Messed up 8. There we go. X equals 8 rocking chairs. So x equals 8 rocking chairs. But how much would that cost? How much money does he have to put in before he can, have a profit? So let's plug that value in for here. So y equals 75 times 8. So y equals $600 that he needs to spend to be able to break even. But if you keep in mind, after he sells, 8 rocking chairs, anything after that will help him to get, a profit, which is nice. But like I've said before, this is extremely helpful if you guys are, thinking after high school to maybe start a company or start selling some stuff. This will definitely be helpful for you. But if you guys have any questions, please let us know. Adios!